Assalamu guys, if I'm back again with another video, and welcome back to the channel if you are a subscriber, and welcome to the channel if you're brand new, in which case I urge you to go ahead and do subscribe so you always get updates as new videos are uploaded. Okay, so let's jump right into it. The previous videos that we have done and uploaded in this channel tend to be a little more complex in nature, tend to be dealing with topics which are a bit more complex, more complicated, and a little more advanced in nature. The objective of this video is to take a step back, if you will, and make this more of a beginner video. And the intention of this series of videos is going to be to start with a more of a beginner level usage of Excel, and then slowly graduate to more complex topics and subjects and options available in Microsoft Excel. So let's just get started. Say for example you own a grocery store, okay, and what you are trying to do in this spreadsheet is trying to track your monthly sales of various products that various items that you're selling in your grocery store. Just to keep things simple, let's assume that you're only selling bread, butter, and eggs in this grocery store of yours, and you are trying to track the sales across 3 months: January, February, and March. Okay, so let's get started. So let's assume your store is called ABC grocery store. Okay. Now the items that you are selling, like I said, just to make it and keep it simple, is just bread, butter, and eggs. Okay, and what you're doing is you're tracking your sales across 3 months: January, February, and March. So let's just put in January, February, March. Okay, now I'm just going to put in some random figures, sales figures for bread, butter, and eggs for those 3 months of January, February, and March. So let's assume and these are going to be in the dollars. So let's assume you sold $110 worth of bread in January. Let's say $140 in February, and $325 in March. Let's fill in some sales figures for butter. Say for example $85 in January, $95 in February, and $218 in March. Eggs, $130, say for example in February, $185 for February, and say $325 for March. So yeah, it looks like business is gradually speeding up, and your March seems to be your best month. Okay, now across this row here, this gives you the sales figures for the product, for one product. So in this case it's bread. So bread, sales of bread in January was 110, sale of bread in February 140, sale of bread in March was 325. So the next row is basically the sales figures for the next product, butter. So $85 butter sold in January, 95 for February, and 218 for March. And the third row is your eggs sales row. So 130 in Jan, 185 in Feb, and 325 in March. Okay, now let's assume, let's go ahead and do this. Let's see what the total sales for all these three items, just the total sales in January. So let's put a label here called total. Okay, and what we would want to do is add up the January sales for bread, butter, and eggs. Now I'm going to show you how to do this in 3 different ways. Okay, Now the first way is you hit your equal sign, then you click on the first cell that you want to add, you click on a plus sign, you click on the second cell, you hit the plus sign, and you click on the third, and then you hit enter. So you see how the formula got entered here, B4 plus B5 plus B6. So essentially what it's doing is this cell here is the B4 cell, is adding the B4, the B5 and B6. So that's one way to put in the formula, the totals formula, to give you the total of bread, butter and eggs for the month of January. The other way of doing this is to use the sum function. Okay, so it's going to be, you highlight and you close parentheses. So essentially what it is doing a sum of all cells from C4 colon C6. So everything between C4 and C6 inclusive of C4 and C6, and you close the parentheses. Okay. The third way of doing this is you put your cursor here, and I'm just going to zoom in. This is your Autosum function, Autosum menu item, and you just click on it, and it automatically puts in the sum formula for you. It highlights the cells, and you hit enter, and there you have it. Let me just do this again without zooming in, because you might have missed this formula as it puts in. So I'm just going to click on the Autosum again. So you notice how it was smart enough to realize that this is what you're summing. So it highlights that and puts in some formula, puts in all the cells. Okay, and all you have to do is just hit enter. So the totals were done in three different ways. First was you manually added you hit the plus sign manually. The second was you punch in the sum formula manually, and the third one you use the Autosum. So three ways to do that, the totals for each month, the sales for each month for all the three products. Now let's assume what you want to do is you want the sum of the total bread sold in these 3 months. So let's put another title here, total. And this time what you want to do is you want to add these 3 cells. This will give you the total value of bread sold. Okay, so now I'm going to show you another trick. Remember how we put a cursor here and hit the Autosum? Well, we are going to use the same concept, but what we are going to be doing is we are going to add all these 3, do the totals for all these 3 rows in one go. And here's how you do that. You highlight these 3 cells in which the total is going to go. Okay, and this time again, because numbers are to the left of where you're totaling, Microsoft is smart enough to understand that since there's a text above it, so you're not adding anything above it, but since there are numbers to the left, so it realizes you're adding numbers to the left. Okay, and since you have highlighted, so what it does, it will put formulas in each cell for each row. So we have highlighted that, and let's just click on the Autosum, and there you have it. So you see how it was able to do the sum BF to B4 to D4. This is B5 to D5, and this is B6 to D6. So what it has done is it has automatically done the totals for us. So that's what we have done so far is we have entered the sales figure for the 3 items that we are selling. We have done monthly total for the store, and we have done totals product wise. Okay, so now let's do a little bit of formatting before we do any graphing on this data here. Okay, now this is your company, your store name, ABC Groceries, and this part here represents your sales figures for the 3 months for the 3 products that your store sells. So let's get this title centered across here, and maybe we can make this font bold and maybe underline it. So the way you would do that is, what you want to do is these 5 cells, you want to merge them into one, and then the text, you want to have it centered in that merged cell. Okay. Now the way you do that is you click on the first cell that you want to merge, and then you hold down the shift key and you click on the last cell. What that is, this is a quick way of highlighting across like that, or it could be downwards. So if you want to highlight downwards, so you click on the first one, hold down the shift key, click on the last cell, it highlights vertically. If you're here and you want to go across, as long as it's the same row, and you hold down the shift key, it realizes the row is highlighting. If the cell that you click on is in the same column, Microsoft Excel is smart enough to realize that it's the whole column that you want highlighted, so it highlights it like that. So in this case, what we're doing is we are highlighting this row. So click on the first cell, hold down the shift key, click on the last, so it highlights these 5 cells, and then you click on this button here, merge and center. What this does is it's going to merge A1, B1, C1, D1 and E1 cells into one cell, and then whatever is in the first cell, that's ABC groceries, it's going to have it centered in this merged cell. So let's just click on here. There you go. See how it merged those 5 cells into one cell, and it also centered the text. Now let's put in some nice color here also. Let's put say like a faint green color on it. The font, we can make it bold, and we can also make it underlined. Okay. These month titles and the total title, we want them to be colored also, so let's put it maybe a yellow color here, and the products and the total maybe a faint blue. Okay. Now what we also going to do is, if you see, since these are text, these are aligned to the left, these are numbers, so they are aligned to the right. Depending on your personal likes or dislikes, I personally like to have things centered. So what we're going to do is, in fact, this gives me a good opportunity to show you another trick. Remember how we said, if you when you're highlighting a bunch of cells with the shift key, now this is the first cell, so we click here to move the cursor here, and then as long as you are in the same row and you click, it highlights the row. If you're here and you click, as long as you're in the same column, it highlights the column. But what if you want to highlight this whole box? Again, Microsoft is smart enough, so you click on the first one and you click on here, and what this does is, it's not in the same column, it's not in the same row. Same row would be highlighting this, same column would be highlighting this, but you're actually over here. You're going to be holding down shift key and clicking here. So Microsoft Excel is smart enough to figure out that you're highlighting both the rows and the columns. See what happened? And we use this center button, and everything now nice and centered. By the way, let's copy this formula down one more row, so it gives you a grand total also. Okay, now this is done. Now you see these grid lines. Now when you are printing this spreadsheet, those grid lines will not show. These are just guidelines for you when you're actually doing data entry. So these are not going to be printable. Let's assume that you do want to have these lines showing up. So let's put a nice grid on it also. You highlight these cells and you go into all borders, and let's put a border here too. So you see how this now has a border on it, and this border will actually print. When you do a print of the spreadsheet, this sheet, it will actually print. So far so good. So just to recap, what we have done is we have entered 3 products that our grocery store is selling, and the 3 months across which we are tracking our sales. we punched in some sales numbers, and we looked at 3 ways to do totals. The monthly total, we put the formula, we created the formula ourselves by clicking on each cell and putting a plus sign in the middle. We typed in the formula of the function ourselves, the sum function, and then we use the Autosum feature, the button, and then have it fill in the formula for us. So those are the 3 ways that we did the totals. Now let's do a graph, a bar graph of these sales. So we will just highlight these. We will not be highlighting the totals column because that will screw up your graph. And then you go into insert, bar graph, and let's just do this. Okay, so you see in January bread was 100, well, just slightly above the 100 line, so it's 110. Butter is the orange, brownish orange color. It's closer to say about 85-90, which is here. And this gray line is the sale of eggs, so that's above 100 but below a 150, so it's close to about 130, 140. So it's about 130. Okay, so that's how you would do a quick graph of this table here. Now it automatically puts in the chart title and puts in the legend here and the months, this title from here. So let's just double click here, and we are going to we'll delete this and say ABC grocery sales figures. So we have put that as your graph title. Now the next thing what we'll do is we want to have these values actually show up on this graph also. Now you just the way you do that is you click on the bar, then you right click, go to add data labels, and add data labels. See, now it's easier to read. This is 110. In February the bread was 140, and in March it was 325. Okay, let's do the same for butter and the same for eggs. So if you've got the numbers as labels showing up. Okay, now let me show you this. I'm just going to move this scooter over here a bit. Now let me show you the strength of Excel here. Now say for example, while you were punching in these sales figures, you made a mistake. Butter did not actually sell for $110. You were only able to sell $80 worth of butter in January. So I'm just going to overwrite this 110 with 80, and when I do that, this was 575. I'm just going to manually write 575 here so we remember what the figures used to be, and this was 325. So I'm going to manually write 325 down here just to remind ourselves what the total used to be before we changed this 110 to $80, for example. Let's make it 75. Okay, so you see from 110 it dropped to 75. So the total across for the bread dropped from 575 to 540. Okay, and similarly the January total for the store for all the 3 products used to be 325. Now it's 290, dropped to 290. And this graph, this bar also reduced in height because it used to be 110, now it's down to 75. So I'm going to make this 110 again and keep an eye on this graph here and see how this bar actually will go up, and this label will also change to 110. See how this bar changed, and this is back to 575 and this total is back to 325. So using these formulas, what that does is instead of manually putting the totals, which is error prone and cumbersome, if you use formulas, it allows you to have Excel do the heavy lifting for you, and whenever you change any figures, any other values, it automatically recalculates the whole sheet. And if you have any graphs that link to that data, it will redo the graph for you. So that was a quick look at Excel, beginner's level Excel. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button, and if you haven't subscribed yet, I would request that you do go ahead and subscribe. And I will be uploading more videos along these lines, showing you more basic and the more beginner's level function and the operation of Excel. Thank you very much, and like I said, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up.